You're listening to The Upland Rookie, a podcast presented by Upland Brits. Welcome to the Upland Rookie Podcast. I'm your host, Will Larson, and as always, this is presented by Upland Brits. Also presented by Eukanuba Sporting Dog. To help get everything your dog's got, you need nutrition that holds nothing back. Eukanuba created the new premium performance lineup to help unleash your dog's maximum potential. Check them out at eukanubasportingdog.com. Also presented by Trinity Bretons, angels in the home and demons in the field. Now offering the Trinity Upland Academy to help each Trinity Breton client attain and develop the highest level of training available with George Hickox. Trinity Breton offers puppies. The Trinity Breton Upland Academy with George Hickox, started dogs, and stud services. Learn a whole lot more at trinitybretons.com. Also, Pointer Traditions. Pointer Traditions is making some premium dog collars, bird straps, you name it, they got you covered. Their dog collars are some of the best premium high-end dog collars on the market, and they look amazing. So get your hands on Pointer Traditions. Use promo code ROOKIE15. That's ROOKIE15 for 15% off your order. All right, we are going to jump into today's episode. I'm super excited. I got back from my Nebraska hunt a couple days ago. I know a lot of you have followed along on social media the last few days, but I thought I would do kind of a quick recap of the hunt, and not just a recap and say all the great things that happened, but go through two things. One, the highlights of the trip, what stood out to me just as wins, and that really stood out. But also I'm going to go over what did I learn from the trip? What did I walk away with learning that I want to grow and know and just do better for next time. So we will start with the highlights. It's always good to start on a positive note, right? Highlight, how my dogs worked. That really probably was a top highlight for me, is just getting them out there in a real experience, knowing there are wild birds out there, and just watching my dogs change direction with me. If I go this way, they go that way. Just seeing their natural range. I did really try to kind of shut my mouth as much as I could, and just see where they would go. Gage, he really pushed his range. He was working 150 to 200, maybe a little bit more at times, which was really fun to see. Really fun. That big country in Nebraska, just letting him open up and just go has been really fun. So he would cover a couple hillsides, again, a couple 100 yards away. And the nice thing knowing is we didn't have to go cover that hillside. He covered it for us. Then he'd come back, quarter in front, check out the next hillside. So that was really cool to see. And someone asked me, Cade, when I was hunting out there, he asked me, how does he transition with pheasant hunting or, tight cover? And Gage started his hunting on pheasants. And so that's what Gage started on. That's kind of what he knew. This big range stuff just kind of came naturally for him last season. And the less I talk, the less I pressure him, the more he opens up. So that's been really fun, just to see Gage's versatility on big country prairie birds versus pheasants and quail, things like that. So on pheasants, he tightens up. He works a 60-acre field, like any other great pheasant dog. So that's been a really special thing to see with him. But that big country, just letting him go is really fun to see. Wynn, on the other hand, kind of similar to Gage, just seeing her range. She was right out there, maybe not as far as Gage was, but she was pushing, that 150 range as well consistently. So that was really cool. And she's working. She's not just out there for a jog and trailing Gage. Sure, she would trail him a little bit, and then she'd get off and go do her own thing and hunt and use her nose. So, but just really fun to see a 7-month-old pup just working that cover, working those hillsides. So that was overall a really big highlight. Gunner as well. His range opened up. Still a close ranging tight dog, which is great. That's what he's bred for. But seeing he could push it a little further than I've seen before was really exciting. So yeah, just seeing the dogs work and how they handled out there was just a real highlight for me. A couple other things. Gunner's retrieve. So my buddy Cade shot a sharp tail. Really nice shot. We were coming down a slope, and the bird, as we were coming down, flushed and was basically flying into the next hillside. So I'm not sure what this bird was going to do. Just flying straight into the next hillside. Cade took a shot, bird went down. Well, right after the bird went down, we could kind of see it start to run. Not run like a pheasant, but it wasn't dead on the spot. So it started to move a little bit. And I think I told Gunner to fetch her. I'm pretty sure I told him. And if I didn't, he did it on his own. But told him to fetch it up, and he just takes off like a little freaking rocket. Tackles this grouse. There's just like a little cloud of dust, and takes the grouse, grabs it, brings it all the way back. Again, we're still standing up on the downslope of the hillside, and brings it right back to hand. And that was freaking special to see. I got special thanks to Andy Taylor. He did a lot of work with Gunner from Steel Fork Kennels a few months ago, and Gunner had a natural retrieve, but he kind of fine-tuned that retrieve, worked with him a lot. Also on giving the bird up. Gunner had a little issue with not wanting to give that bird up. So Andy, thank you for your work with him. But yeah, so that was a real special moment just to see that nice retrieve from Gunner. Again, probably the biggest highlight for me, last highlight I'll share is Wynn's pointed grouse. So out of my dogs, she actually had the only pointed bird of the trip. Birds were flushing kind of wild. They were a little spooky. I don't know if it's the hills. I can see it coming more. I don't know what it is, but it just, first couple of days we did have a good wind, but then there'd be times we'd be out there, wind would completely die down. So there's some condition issues, which is normal, expected. It's all good. But she had the true only pointed bird that I shot, and that was freaking amazing. Just to see a 7-month-old Brittany out there, pup, whatever breed you have, see her lock up on a bird. I walk up, bird flushes, shoot, goes down. It was just all the pieces come together when that works. When the training, the genetics, the breeding, the dog, it all kind of comes together. That's just like, it's awesome. It is awesome feeling. So it was a far shot, probably 45-yard shot. Bird went down again. This one started to run a little bit, and I could see it on the hillside starting to run. And so Gunner and Wynn were both down. I send them after it, and Wynn actually she repointed it again. And by that time, it was pretty dead at that point. And so she pointed, and I just reached down, grabbed the bird, and off we go. But just so the tracking job of both Gunner and Wynn, they refound that bird. Which again, you have that moment of you see that little head starting to move after you shoot, and you go, uh-oh, I want to make sure we recover this bird. So Again, some really special moments that'll stick out to me. And the last one I'll share is just hunting with Drew and Cade, Cutting Coveys and Hunt to Live on Instagram. Those guys were fantastic. I loved hanging out with those dudes. We had a really good time. Again, I do most of my hunting solo, but honestly, I'm starting to enjoy hunting with others more. I know it sounds bad. I'm pretty introverted. Again, that's just what I've done. Is hunt solo. I enjoy it, but I really loved hunting with these guys, and I look forward to hunting with people more. Actually, it kind of got me a taste of just getting out there more with buddies. It really makes the experience just more wholesome. Sitting around the campfire at night, cooking dinner, eating burgers. Driving to the field, getting the dogs loaded. It's just fun. It adds another element to the hunt that you don't always get when you're out there solo. Sure, when you're out there solo, you can, just be attentive to your dogs and just, kind of do your own thing. But with hunting with others, it's a special bond. It's memories that you can share with someone that you can remember. You can go, oh yeah, remember that time that, that Gunnar had that retrieve, or Coda, went on point, and you can share those memories, you can reminisce about those, and so it was really special. I really, really enjoyed those guys. Zeno, Drew's, probably 19-week-old GSP. Fantastic little pup. He went out there for a couple of our long walks, and man, that dog he was working. He was doing really good for 20-week-old pup, staying out in front, coming with us. He was a trooper, real trooper. It was really fun hunting behind him. So Zeno's got a bright future. So I'll definitely get Cade and Drew on the podcast. Maybe we'll do a little further recap of our trip with from their point of view. So I'm sure it'd be a blast to do that. But anyways, those are some of the highlights, kind of the things I learned. So some of the things I learned. So first off, habitat and bird numbers. Habitat looked great. It looks like they got plenty of rain up there. It rained the first day I got there even. So habitat looked amazing. Bird numbers definitely seemed down compared to last year. So I went to the same area last year. And just from what I saw last year compared to this one, definitely down. Just as far as bird numbers, I was seeing a lot smaller coveys, fewer coveys of sharp-tailed grouse. So it was interesting to see. I did look at the drought map before I went, and it was, I forget what color it showed, but I mean, it was in drought, but it wasn't bad. It gave me hope going up there, but I think it was enough maybe to affect some of those birds. So yeah, just smaller coveys, not as many. Definitely got into them, found the birds, found some coveys, found birds each day, which was awesome. So very thankful for that, but just kind of something that stood out of going, the drought is a real thing. It can happen. Again, maybe there's other factors as well. But that kind of stood out. Another thing was, know when your dogs need a rest. This is a real tangible moment for me. So I ran, I'm not going to go over who I ran with who. It got confusing as far as dog wise, but Gage ran, so I hunted Thursday. He ran twice on Thursday, morning and evening. He ran hard. He ran both those hunts really good on Thursday, morning and night. And, ran hard. I think he put in 28 miles between those two hunts. So ran hard, did great. Friday morning, had a really long hunt Friday morning. He ran it was like 21 and a half miles. Again, ran hard, just covered ground, hauled ass, worked great. So in my mind, I'm like, he did 2 hunts the day before. He did great. He had that whole afternoon, the rest. I was kind of thinking for Friday, same thing. Give him the afternoon off, go hunt him in the evening again. So put him down on the ground that evening on Friday, and we're a little bit into our walk. We got Cade's dog Coda down and Gage. I also had Wind down as well. And Gage is just acting slow. He's just not running. He's not ranging. He's slow. He keeps stopping. He laid down a couple times, and once he started laying down, and we're barely into our walk, I'm like, okay, something's up here. He didn't get enough rest. He's not ready to to go on another hunt. So I made the call. I just told the guys, I said, hey, I'm going to head back to the truck with Win and Gage, and you guys continue on. Have fun. Don't, no rush. Go do your thing, and I'll be back at the truck waiting for you. And it's always hard. You want to get back out there and, hunt and all that stuff. But he was just showing me he needed rest. He could not do it. And I wanted to hunt him the day after and the day after that. And so you got to make those calls that might not be what you want, but you got to make that call for the dog, because they are not going to make that call. They're not going to do it. So anyways, we headed back to the truck, and I could have went back out, but I was tired as well. So I just sat at the truck and waited for the guys. So it was all good, but it was a learning for me that I think dogs need more rest than I think even. And if you hunt them real hard in that morning, they might not be able to hunt that evening. So again, just a learning for me. Probably a mistake on my part for even trying it that Friday night. But hey, you live and you learn. And then rested him all Friday night. Gage went back out Saturday morning, acted like nothing happened. So he was ready to go and charged up, did another 20 miles Saturday morning. So anyways, those are some of the things I learned, some of the things that stuck out to me on this trip. What a way to kick off a season. Bagged a few birds, got in some coveys, dogs worked great, Win got her first point. It was awesome. Overall, it was awesome. I know Drew and Kate stayed up there an extra day. I know they got into some birds even after I left. So I was excited. Both those guys got their first sharp-tailed grouse, which was, again, that's on my highlight too. Just watching those guys get their first sharp-tail. Awesome experience. That's another benefit of hunting with others, is maybe someone who hasn't got that species of bird yet, or whatever it might be. Just seeing their excitement, when they got their first, they've never seen a sharp-tailed grouse up close in person. So that was a special moment to be able to share that with them, get their picture with it and all that good stuff. That was definitely a special moment. So anyways, this is a long intro. I wanted to update y'all on the first trek of the season. I hope you all are getting out there. Hope you have some plans made, some things figured out to get out there, chase some birds. Early season's fun, guys. It's fun. Don't let the heat scare you. Don't let bird numbers scare you. Just get out there. Again, I didn't find as many birds last year, but guess what? I had just as much, if not more fun this year than I did in last year. So anyways, get out there, make some plans. We are going to jump in to today's conversation with Ben Brettingin of OnX Hunt. Ben is... I guess we're kind of continuing a Montana series. I know last week we talked with Brandon Moss, who's also in Montana. Ben is not from Montana, but he's going to spend a lot of time out in the prairies of Montana this fall. So we'll call this my Montana series. So we're going to jump in with episode 21 with Ben Brettingin. So what have you been up to?
Oh, just been traveling like crazy. I was up in Alaska for a week, and that was ridiculous. That was fun.
Good.
So now I'm trying to pack like probably 4 months of honeydews into like the last week before I leave for Montana. So
heck yeah. Was Alaska,
Yeah.
was that hunting, fishing, work, pleasure?
Yeah, it was, we were up there fishing sockeye salmon on the Kenai, and had a buddy that called me like a week and a half before he was going to leave and said, "Hey, do you want to come to Alaska?" And I was like, I guess so.
That's pretty awesome.
So
you can't turn that down. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You cannot turn that down. What I guess give us a quick, what's kind of on the first horizon for your upland season?
So I had spent some time, a few weeks in eastern Montana last year, and obviously the bird numbers were ridiculous, right? Yeah. So this year I decided, well, if 2 weeks is great, a month is even better. So I am, So I'm headed out. Actually, I'm headed out the first, or before the first, going to hunt it for a few days. Around opener, and then I've got to come back for a wedding, and then that Sunday I'm right back out to the prairie and be there for 3 weeks. I might pop over to North Dakota, try it over there, meet up with some buddies, and maybe try to shoot a crane or two. So really just no agenda wherever the wind blows me.
Dude, that sounds awesome. That sounds really, really awesome. So my trip is maybe not as structured, maybe as that, is in the sense of like, I don't really have a plan, but I kind of do.
Yeah.
So I'm still debating on whether I hit Montana or not. I'm kind of going back. Do I just spend all my time in North Dakota? Do I jump over? So we'll see. But all the reports have been making me nervous a little bit.
Yeah. I've heard good and bad, right? You hear all the doom and gloom, and there's always going to be pockets of birds, but like there's some areas I've heard from Montana that's just scorched earth. It's dirt and not a lot going on. But then other people I talk to, it's like, oh yeah, we found birds. You just, you've got pockets of really good habitat, and they just concentrate in those good areas versus when good years, they're in marginal habitat as well. So
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's, I definitely want to dive into that a little bit more. I want to hear about Montana last year for you, kind of what that was like. I know you got a new pup. We got to talk about Onyx. We got a whole bunch to get to. But first, just tell us who you are, introduce yourself, and put us on the map. Where are you? Where do you call home?
Yeah. So my name's Ben Brettingin, and I obviously work for Onyx Maps. I do most of the marketing for the Midwest, represent our Midwest customer, as well as the wing shooting side of our business. So Upland and waterfall, turkey, and it's great because that's what I love to do. So I'm based out of, so Onyx is based out of Missoula, Montana, but I am out of just outside of the Twin Cities, kind of where I grew up. I had actually, until I started with Onyx about a year and a half ago now. And prior to that, I was down in good old Mississippi, actually. So I was living in the South. Yeah, it was a good time. I would work for Primos Hunting down there. And so great experience, got to meet a lot of cool people. But last fall was my first year in 5 years that I was back in bird country, and I took full advantage of it. So
right on, man. Yeah. Right on. So with your role with Onyx, you're kind of the voice then for the upland side of things, a little bit of waterfowl, a little bit of Midwest region. Is that kind of
the
gist of it?
Yep. Okay. Exactly. So I work with a lot of our upland waterfowl partners, and as well as, I guess advocating for all you upland hunters out there, right? Making sure that the app is working for what you need it to do. So
that's awesome.
I've got a vested interest in it, so that helps. I
100%.
I fight a little bit harder.
100%. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
We'll dive into that in a little bit. But tell us a little bit of I guess let's start back at the beginning. Sorry, I can't talk tonight. Did you grow up hunting, or how'd you get down this path?
Yeah, so pretty stereotypical upbringing in the outdoors. My dad was a hunter, grandpa was a hunter, so I grew up with it. I remember, my dad carrying me on his shoulders when I couldn't walk through the CRP. And I was just talking about this to somebody. We used to go to Iowa every year, and I was little. I couldn't have been more than 3 years old, and before then I was too young. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything really in the field. So one year it was like, all right, this is a year I'm not going to get left at home. I love this so much. And so I remember waiting till my dad went to bed and getting out some bungee cords and trying to bungee cord him to the bed so he wouldn't wake up and leave. And
That's brilliant.
He took me along. He took me along, and I'm sure I rode on shoulders the whole day. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
so
awesome.
That was, yeah. So like I say, young start. And I think when I was about 6 years old, we got our first bird dog. It was a short hair, and he was a typical short hair, just full of piss and vinegar. And he was a great dog. And I remember at the time I live outside of, the Minneapolis, St. Paul area in the suburbs. Pretty much to the west of us is all country. And now there sits a housing development there, but I remember riding my bike and taking Jack, our short hair, out, and I had an old stock, and I had taped together 2 pieces of conduit. And depending on the flavor of the week, it was either a double barrel or a side by side, or over under or side by side. We'd go chase after pheasants in the what's now a housing development. So it was, I was eaten up by it. And so from there, I started to get a lot more into waterfowl. That dog, he got cancer and died, and my parents got a golden doodle, and not the same caliber of bird dog.
Wait, you mean a golden doodle is not the same as a GSP?
I know, it's weird, right? We'll get into this later, but that's like saying my pointer is the same as my draughts. Very different.
Sure. Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh,
so, anyways, I kind of fell out of upland hunting for a little bit. I'd go a few times a year, but really loved duck hunting. I loved chasing geese and ducks, and went up to North Dakota, and I went to school up there, and pretty much so I could chase after birds. And I did a lot of that. And actually then I moved down to Mississippi, and of all the things I missed, it was hunting birds, hunting pheasants, grouse, whatever. So from there, it was hard, right? I mean, heck, I was, at least from pheasants, I was 15 hours away, maybe a little bit closer. Sure. But so I really started to take a ton of trips, started going to Kansas, going back to South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota. And so hit it really hard again. And it's been great. It's been great to see the community grow. Obviously, probably with the advent of social media. So
sure. So when you were in Mississippi, did you have your own dogs at the time, or were you just out there walking?
Yeah. So I skipped over all my dogs.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good.
So when I moved to Mississippi, I got she's six now, a Drahthaar, my first one. And I wanted something that I could do it all with. I worked for Primo, so we did a lot of duck hunting for the TV show. And so I wanted something I could track deer with, shoot ducks with, and then also a pointing dog. And she was a great first dog for sure. Just because really forgiving, like she had the drive, she was hard-headed, you could make mistakes with her.
That's important.
She would just keep coming back. So I feel really lucky having her first, because the next one, he was a little bit more challenging. And then now this pointer, he's even more challenging, just different. But so I got Annie, and I think about two or 3 years. So it was 3 years later, because I ran her through the VGP, and that summer I got my second draught. And just, I was taking these like kamikaze trips out west, and, you're hunting sun up to sundown if you can. And a dog gets beaten into the ground really fast after, you hunt hard for 3 days, put on 20 miles, and, she was pretty beat up. So I needed more dog power.
Yeah.
And got him. And he, Annie, she's a little bit bigger build. So doesn't, wasn't the fastest moving dog, but she was really tenacious. And then Herbie, my second one, he's a lot slimmer, and he's built like a bird dog. So
are they related at all?
Yeah. So I got them out of Arkansas, out of Dillman Fast Drahthaars, and they share the same bitch and different sires. So
okay.
Love the temperament of their mom, and it was her last litter, and I wasn't planning on getting another one that soon, but it was like, this is her last litter, and sure. Just love that temperament. So
yeah, absolutely. So real quick before we move on, I think you're the first person with a draught that's actually been on the podcast. So congrats.
Oh, wow.
that's exciting. I've seen a lot of Griffons. I've actually, for some reason over the last month, I've met a lot of Griffons, really cool dogs. Is a draught I'm gonna catch flack for this. Is a draught comparable to a Griffon or like a wire hair?
Well, I'll catch flack for my answer, I'm sure, because you can't make anyone happy.
I'm just generally curious. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of in my, in my experience, they share a lot of the same traits. I've seen, obviously there's like with wire hair pointers, there's a lot of really good ones, and I've actually seen a lot of really bad ones. Same thing with Griff, in my experience, a little less or quite a bit less prey drive, little less tenacity. Obviously you're going to have a spectrum there.
Sure.
But, the breed standard with draughts is so strict. It's, if you've got a decent breeder, even if you don't have a decent breeder, it's really kind of hard to get a bad one.
Okay.
So I think it's just that breed standard. You get a much narrower band of good to bad versus wire hairs and Griffons.
It's a little wider.
Yeah, your chance of getting a dud is significant, but not to say I've hunted behind some good Griffs.
Sure. I'm sure there's some great ones out there. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just curious on that. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then, touch on the new pup you got. Right? He's looking pretty good out there, I gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how I did it, but I talked my wife into number 3. I think I just wore her down.
Okay. There you go. Sometimes it takes that.
Yeah, exactly. Just tenacity again. Just keep asking. So like I had been spending more time out, Montana, Western North Dakota, and that landscape, as you know, is just vast. And I needed a dog that was going to cover some more ground. I had kind of groomed the 2 draughts to be sub 100-yard dogs, they were pheasant dogs for the most part. And I didn't want them ranging that far out.
Sure.
And I'd hunted with George Lyle. He's
heard of him.
Good friends with Travis Frank, who hosts the Flush. And I got to hunt with him and his dogs a few times, and I was just blown away. They would cover the ground, and I mean, just wheels on them. And I was like, wow, this is pretty damn cool. And so I was like, all right, I want one of these too. And sure enough, so back in April, I picked up Amos, he's about 6 months too now. And I got him out of Hackberry Kennels, Bob Cohn's, just outside of Omaha. And he's a El Hugh Sinbad pup from an AI, and high octane. And the little bugger runs. Oh my gosh.
I've seen some photos you posted. He's several hundred yards away and doing his thing. And
yeah, I was nervous, and it's just because I didn't know. And so right away when I first got him, he was still a little pup. He's like, dang, this is, he's bootlicking. And it's like, I expected something that was like, right out of the gate, going to start running. And obviously with just like probably insecurity, it's like, gosh, I get a pointer and I'm going to have a bootlicker. But about 5 months old, like less than that, probably 4.5, 5 months old, just a flip or a switch flipped. And one day I caught him out at like 800 yards. And then the next week I caught him at like 1,250 yards.
Oh, geez.
I was like, oh, okay. Got to rein it in a little bit now. Yeah. And so, just working with him now and trying to, he can be out that far, but you just have to, he'll get lost sometime.
Yeah. It just gets a little nerve wracking on our part. I mean, I know I feel the same way whenever my dog gets so Wynn she pushed 300 one time. And I was like, oh my God, like I can see her on the GPS, but just, I lose that sense of maybe that as much control as I want. And sometimes you just have to be like, okay, it's fine. Like let them do their thing. And sure enough, he made a loop and came back. And so it happens, but we have to let go of that control.
I know, exactly. So it's like I say, it's just really, for me now, it's just trying to make sure he stays with me. I don't care if he's, 300 or 1,000, a lot of the cases, but he just has to know where I am. And so that's what we've been working with as of late.
Are you using a whistle for that? If he's pushing that far, how are you, like, what are you working on, or how are you working on that?
So I started off with a lot of check cord work, just working them. just working them to develop a search pattern, and with the goal of eventually overlaying the e-collar. So, he's at that point of contact on the neck, eventually transferring to, I'm going to hit him with the e-collar, just a low stim to turn them,
Sure.
Bump, bump, bump to come back. It's the Huntsmith method. So,
Sure.
And in the field, I'm just cognizant I'm changing directions a lot. And if he's not paying attention, then, he's going to get lost and get left. And,
Sure.
and when he comes back, he comes back. So
Yeah. Nice.
and then he's like, you can see him work into a panic. He's like, oh, I lost him. Where'd he go?
Yeah.
And so he's been getting better about that.
That's good. That's good, man.
Yeah.
Will you strictly just hunt him on big prairie birds, or will you bring him into some thicker cover pheasant hunting?
Yeah. So going back to George and his couple pointers, that was the one thing that really sold me on it, because I knew they were big running dogs, but I was nervous about pheasant hunting just because, like, they're, jumpy birds. They're going to, flush at 300 yards. And I was hunting with them in December last year, and those dogs were 200-300 yards away, and, they would bump a few birds, but just he trained them to be very, very cautious, stop on scent immediately. And what he said to me is, he said, some birds, it doesn't matter if, they're not going to hold regardless.
Sure.
So you're not going to get a shot at them, whether they're at 100 yards or they're at 300 yards, they're going to flush. So, after hunting with him and watching those dogs, I was like, okay, they're just, they did it all. So that's my goal in training this little one now.
That's great, man. That's good versatility, and you can swap them back and forth, and you got your draught still, and got some duck dogs in them as well. So you got exactly. The whole package, man. You got a little bit of everything right now. Yeah, no, I'm. It's going to be a fun season. I'm really looking forward to it. Absolutely. Are you this first season in particular? Are you going to run Amos with another draw? Are you going to keep them totally separate? What's the plan? I will run them. I'll run them together for sure, just because a lot of the times I'm running. Yeah, I'll run two dogs normally. And so my first one, Annie, she actually had a spinal stroke at the beginning of last year. So she's got one leg that's, about half there, or not half in terms of physically, but just, she'll limp around. So she doesn't cover much ground. Okay. Stays close. Just when I've been running them just on wild birds since we opened here, Amos will be out, like I say, out 200-300. Herbie will be at about 100, and Annie will be tight. So they just kind of do their own things. But I was cognizant, early on I ran them together, but then actually Amos just started, doing his own thing. So I was like, all right, well, we'll just continue to run them together. There you go. I mean, they're covering every square inch then. If you got a big ranger, a mid, and a close, I mean, you're covered. Yeah, exactly. You are covered there, brother. That's awesome. Talk about last season a little bit. Give us, I know it's almost a whole year ago, but especially, or maybe early season. Give us a kind of recap, early season in Montana and North Dakota. What'd you hit? Yeah, so I started out in Montana and went to more of a central region, wanted to get out there and just see some new country, and got out there. The weather was just awesome. It was that big cold front that came through there. So I was super stoked. Spent a bunch of time scouting online, talking to a few folks. And I was like, all right, I think I've got a pretty damn good game plan ready to go. And then after about day 2, I just was kicked in the teeth. Like, I think we may have found like one covey of Sharpies and just some awesome looking ground and cover. And I was just beside myself. I was like, I don't know what to do. And so said, heck with it, packed up, headed back further east. Just some cover that I guess I was more familiar with. I didn't hunt spots I'd hunted before, but just that look, it's like, okay, this looks like there's Sharpies and Huns, and picked a new spot on, found it on the map and went out there, and I think within like 5 minutes we started putting up birds. So I was like, oh, nice. That's a relief. I had some friends drive up from Mississippi, and
And so, that just that little bit of added pressure. It's like you're trying to show them a fun time
Oh,
too.
sure.
So, yeah, because otherwise I probably would have beat my head against the wall in central Montana until I figured them out. But
Yeah.
yeah, so got into Sharpies, Huns, just a great time out there hunting. I think we ended up hunting out there for like another 6-7 days, and that was middle September. And I don't think I had plans to go back out there, but it was so good. We saw so many pheasants, and decided early October so go back out there again. And yeah, the pheasant numbers were great.
Nice.
The Sharpies were still behaving well.
That's good.
And yeah, so it was a great time out on the prairie. So
nice. Were you finding Sharpies and pheasants in kind of generally the same fields or same general area?
Yeah, so the area I was hunting was a little bit thicker, and so we would find sporadic pheasants in there, like, maybe every half mile we'd find a pheasant.
Nice.
And yeah, so it was like, I mean, not Fast and Furious, but then we'd hunt a couple pieces that dropped down to the Cattail Slough or dropped into some like a stream bed area where there was better vegetation, thicker. And of course the draughts go right down into the thickest cover they can find. And just, I mean, pheasants everywhere. Like if it looked like good pheasant habitat,
they were there.
They were there.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was talking to, I think it was Brandon Moss a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me about this whole, this was new to me. And I'm planning, I might go to Montana still, but the whole, like the different land types, there's like a type 1 walk-in land, there's type 2, and one you have to sign in basically, right? And one you have to get permission physically still, right?
So it's a BMA program, block management, and block management access. And yeah, so type 1 is essentially you can treat it like a WIHA or walk-in program plots.
Mm-hmm.
You can pretty much just go, but you do have to sign in. So they have, if you go on the app, turn on the Montana block management layer, you'll see these green triangles, and that's where the sign-in box is. So every day you have to go sign in. At the end of the day,
you drop it in the box.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you bring it back. Just, I think there's, maybe what you shot, how many birds you saw, were you satisfied, that kind of thing. So that's type 1, and that's all listed on the map, right? When you're looking at the BMA. And type 2, you have to go sign it, or I guess go talk to the landowner and get permission on it. But in my experience, it's like they're putting it as land that you can hunt. So they're okay with letting people out. I haven't had any bad experiences. And actually the cool thing about type 2 BMAs is that, it's great. You get to go talk to the farmer and they know. So like when we were out in central Montana last year, went and talked to the farmer that owned this, and he's like, yeah, you can go hunt it, but I haven't seen a Sharpie here in years. So it's like, okay, good. Like, wow.
That's great to know.
Yeah. He's like, if you ever want to come back and hunt pheasants, so it's like, they're all right up here. So yeah. So it was like, at first I was a little leery. It's like, oh, it's just easier not to ask, but it ended up saving time and also got a few good leads for pheasant season if I ever went out there.
That's really good, man. I think, I'm not great about that, but I think it's a really good value. Talking to landowners if you can, being respectful, getting to know them and just showing some vested interest. I think that can, like you said, it can actually help you, but also just, I think it can just speak a lot to the upland community and how we approach them, how we interact with them. I think that's a good value that I think we all need to, including myself. Yeah. I need to do a little bit better.
Yeah. And it's the only thing you got to remember is if you're trying to hunt something, you got to give yourself an extra hour because a lot of them love to talk. Yes. Which is not a bad thing, but you just have to keep that in mind.
They might not have seen a new person in quite a while. So
yeah. Some of those were out there, and
yeah.
But you mentioned, I totally, like you said, it's been a year ago, but you mentioned Brandon. So last year after the first trip, we were hunting in eastern Montana there, and then ended up going back out further west and hunted with Brandon for a couple days, and chased after sage grouse, and
Nice.
that was incredible. He
Oh,
is,
nice.
he spent his whole life
Yeah.
hunting sage grouse out there, and
Yeah.
it was a sight to be seen. So
That's all.
um,
Did you take your first sage grouse?
yep. So
Nice.
my dad was out there with me too, and so we got to go out there and both get a couple sage grouse. And Brandon's got, obviously he's got Brits too, and gosh, it was fun watching his dogs. He's got some hammers. So
Yeah. That's so cool, man.
yeah.
That's so cool. Well, that's awesome, man. I mean, just hearing a little bit of last season's got me more excited even. So
Oh yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to be so close up there in North Dakota. I might as well just jump over for a couple of days. I mean, come on, while I'm up there.
Yeah. Why not? Right.
Why not? I know it's not like we can take this trip, multiple times a year. So make the most out of it.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. So what was I going to ask you next, sir? Oh, do you, so with the draughts, sorry, going back to the draughts real quick, have you done any like natural ability testing with them? Any trials, or what's that process like for the draughts? Is it a little bit different than AKC stuff?
Yes, it definitely is. It's kind of the same flavor, but I like to call the Navda and that kind of stuff, it's like the American version of what we do for the draughts. So it's called the JGHV testing system. I'm not going to try to say what that acronym means in German because I can't even start. So
fair enough.
But essentially it's kind of what Navdo is based off of.
Okay.
So yeah, I ran both dogs through VJP, which is the natural ability, the puppy test, and then the HGP, which I think is equivalent to, like, I can't remember what they call it, like the utility prep or something like that.
Oh yeah. There's like a prep, and then there's the utility.
Yep.
Right.
And then and then the VGP, which is the utility test. From what I know, I watched a utility test the other day, and it's like a utility test on steroids. It's 2 days long, 32 different subjects, and everything from search behind the live duck to they call it fox in a box, where they'll you've built this box. I can't remember the standard now, but it's like 20-30 inches, something like that, and put a fox in there. They've got to jump in, grab the fox, and get out, and rabbit drags, blood tracking.
Oh wow. So you got fur involved, you got everything.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, it's a grueling test. It's when I got done with both of them, I went and probably had 50 beers and fell asleep.
That's intense.
Yeah, it was fun though. I mean, any of those groups, I was hanging out with some people up at Pine Ridge after one of the tests, the NAVDA test, this couple of weeks ago now, and really, obviously you're gonna get a really well-trained dog going through that system, but really it's just the people you meet in it. Like just a lot of people that are just like you, love dogs, love hunting. You'll get to meet people from all over the country and have more invitations to hunt than you have time for. So obviously the dog's one thing, but I really enjoyed it just because of the people, and made a lot of good friends, especially when I was in Mississippi and a northerner in Mississippi. So I got to meet a lot of good friends outside of work, lifelong friends that, we hunt together every year still. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Is it just for draughts, or is it German dogs? So is it GSPs and all that, or is it?
Yep. So it is. So the JGHV, I don't remember all the breeds that they judge, but it's, the Deutsch Langhaar, the Kurtzar, obviously the Draught, and then I think like Mutzenlanders and all that stuff are under the JGHV as well. Depending on the breed, slightly different requirements, if I remember correctly, but
gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then with Amos, will you test him in any AKC trials or anything like that?
Yeah, just kind of we'll see how it goes. I'd love to run them on some some cover dog trials up here. I went up and watched a couple of them. I'm pretty new to that side of the thing, that side of the business. So I went up and watched one of the gross trials in Minnesota, and people were great. And that next weekend, I met one of the guys, and he took me up, and we ran his dogs again in the spring, and learned a ton there. But I'm not going to buy a horse and do horseback trials.
Hey, you say that now. You say that
Yeah,
now.
oh god, my wife would actually probably say yes to that, but all of a sudden you'd have a damn horse head sticking in my office here, because they don't do too well on like a half acre plot of land. So neighbors wouldn't like that.
My money will be like a year from now, man. Maybe 2 years from now. You got horses.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I'll be divorced probably, because then I'll have about a dozen pointers. But
of course,
because you say that, but like I would be the person that'd be like, shit, I gotta get horses. But
exactly.
So I'll do some shooting dog stuff, hopefully.
Yeah. This whole thing, man, this is just one big rabbit hole. This whole upland world, dogs, whatever you call it, it's a freaking rabbit hole.
Yeah, 100%. And especially like, I'm going to blame Instagram and Facebook and whatever, because before it's like a lot of the times you didn't know what you didn't know. Like, oh, I know they do that, but I don't, now I see it, now
you're enticed to go do it, go to that state or hunt that bird
which is great. I love it.
No, I think it's awesome.
So, so I'm not ruling it out. I'll probably run them. The nice thing, I'll probably try to run them in some derbies, just because lower pressure, less expectations, a little bit more inviting. So that's absolutely, that's the idea.
That's exciting. What birds on your kind of your, I don't like to say bucket list this year, but like what's a bird you're really excited to go chase and hopefully the bag?
New birds. I am going to go. So I'm in the inner workings of setting up a chucker trip. Gonna go probably go to to that Hell's Canyon, Snake River area, and give it a go out there. I've got another guy that I work with at Onyx, Custis Coleman, who he's a go-getter. He's got some great dogs, and he's like, yep, dude, early November, let's go out and chase chucker. So I've never done that before, and probably just get my butt whooped coming from, being a flatlander. Sure. Yeah, I know that little white dog will be up for it if he doesn't jump off a cliff or something.
100%. Yeah. He doesn't take a little tumble, but yeah.
Yeah. I think after about day 3, I'm going to be the one that's going to want to jump off a cliff.
That puppy energy, man, that can be exhausting to just watch, but also try to rein in a little bit. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm going to do that. And, while I'm out there, probably maybe hop over to Washington or somewhere around there and go hunt some quail.
Okay. There you go.
We'll see. I think my wife scheduled a trip for Mexico or something that weekend. So I'm just like, whatever, I'm going to be gone for that whole week. I'm going to go big. So
yeah, exactly. That's what you gotta do. Kind of just, when you go somewhere, just spend some time there as much as you can, and just check out the environment, check out the landscape, and kind of go explore, right?
Yeah. And the obviously COVID has been a terrible time for a lot of people. But the nice thing is with the remote work now, it's you can go hunt mornings, hunt afternoons, and wherever. Yeah. And as long as you got your computer, you're working. So
100%. Yeah. That's been a nice, again, COVID's been crazy, but that's been a nice little benefit.
Yeah. Silver lining.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's dive into Onyx a little bit. It's something I've been using for a couple of years now. Absolutely love it. For someone who maybe just does not know what Onyx is, give us just kind of a quick overview. What is Onyx? Why should someone use it? And then we'll dive into some of the more of the details.
Yeah. So I'll preface it by saying, before I even worked for Onyx, if you don't have it and you are a bird hunter, you're a public land bird hunter, you travel around, you need to have it. It has completely changed the way I've bird hunted. So it is a GPS navigation hunting app for your phone. And at the crux of it, you've got private and public land information, so you can see public land, private land boundaries, who owns that land, and that is really super valuable. And not only what type of public land, but like we talked about with BMAs, is it a type 1 or a type 2? Is it a WPA? Is it state land? So it just gives you all that information right at your fingertips. And for what you spend on shells, what you spend on a shotgun, your dog food, it's inexpensive. So we have a $30 $29.99 package and a $99 package, single state or 50 states. So
sure,
it's I'm preaching to the choir.
Oh, 100%. No, 100%. I've had a couple people here and there just are like, hey, what is this? Why do I need it? And again, try to kind of go over that and just
100%.
For me, it's opened up. So when I first got my bird dog, got my bird dogs all excited. I was just starting to get into Upland, and the kind of the roadblock for me was knowing where to go. It was a huge roadblock in just knowing like, okay, got this dog, season's coming. Like, where the heck where do you start? It was kind of this mental roadblock in trying to kind of search around, like Google Images, it was very hard to find information. Yeah. And so once I got turned, I think it was a friend maybe, or someone turned me onto it, and it just opened up possibilities. It opened up like, oh, okay, 2 hours from my house, there's these blocks of walk-in access in Colorado. Like it just gave you more encouragement to be like, okay, I can do this. I know where to go, put some boots on the ground and all that. And kind of that e-scouting part, I feel like that's a learned skill. And I'd love to talk a little bit more about that, but
for sure.
Talk about e-scouting a little bit in terms of, just talk about kind of the importance of e-scouting and what that kind of means.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, to kind of mirror your point, I mean, it's not, to what you were saying about that confidence. It's not only for, somebody new to get into bird hunting. It's, me going out to Montana, somewhere I've never been, without it, there's no way I would have ever done it, just because in the past, it's either you had to have maybe went with somebody who knows the area, who had been hunting out there for years, or know somebody that could take you around out there and show you the ropes. But now you can just go out with confidence, knowing that at least I can find land to hunt. I know what it looks like. So it's been a game changer for, I think, new and veteran hunters alike.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so e-scouting, it is a wildly important part of what I do, no matter if I'm hunting pheasants, grouse, prairie grouse, whatever. And I've kind of got a system that works for me, but in talking to a lot of people, it might be a little different, but I'll just kind of go through what I look for maybe in trying to find a new area. Let's just take pheasants, for example. The first thing I'm going to do is turn on my public or government land layers. I'm going to turn on private, and then whether it's walk-in or depending on the state you're in.
Sure.
I'll have those layers on, and that is, that's my first step. The next thing, what I'll do is I will look at the map, whether it's, so before that, I will look at the state agency and look at roadside counts, or, that preseason. Pheasants Forever does a great. Yeah. They combine all the states in your prairie grouse primer.
Yep. I'm looking forward to that.
I know, it's great. So all these state agencies put out bird densities, what areas are better this year, what areas aren't so good. And at least it'll get you in the right area. So I will look at that, especially if I'm traveling to somewhere I don't know. And if you're going somewhere, you maybe going out for the first time, I would highly advise looking at that, and then go back to Onyx and compare, be like, okay, this is the good area. And I wouldn't get so hyper focused on only hunting in the excellent areas, because there's probably another 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people that have the exact same idea as you. So I wouldn't hesitate. Like in Minnesota, I think they're rated like fair, good, great, whatever. And so like you don't have to go to the area with the absolute highest bird populations.
Sure.
So in saying that, I'll look at that map and compare it to Onyx and be like, okay, this is roughly the area that the bird numbers are supposed to be good in. And from there, I will start zooming in and finding clusters of public land. What I don't want, what you don't want to do is go and say, all right, oh, there's one piece of public ground, and put all your eggs into that basket, because you could get out there, it could have been grazed, especially in a year like this with emergency haying and grazing. It could just be, there could be cattle everywhere. The cover could be, eaten down to nothing. And you're like, oh gosh, now I'm an hour, 45 minutes from the next area to even try to hunt. So that's why I really focus on those clusters of areas.
So you're basically giving yourself some options. You're giving yourself, hey, if this piece looks terrible, I can jump 5 minutes down the road and hit up this plot.
Yep. And especially, with hunters too, it's like, oh, if there's a hunter in there, 2 hunters, 2 trucks around it, it's like, you're kind of SOL. So yeah, looking for those clusters of public lands together. And then from there, what I'll do is once I kind of find a rough area that I want to be in, whether it's 5, 10, 15 different pieces or a couple large pieces, I'll hyper focus on a few of them. So like I said, we're talking about pheasants here. So I will find, properties that have kind of a mosaic of cover. And what I mean by that is a mix of cattails, a mix of, if you look at aerial maps, I like to call it like a fuzzy look. Okay. So if you go on, find an area that's got thick, good tall grass, and you zoom in close on it, it almost has like a furry, fuzzy look to it. And in addition to that, that furry look, also look for like multiple different colors. So generally the lighter the color, the thinner the cover it's going to be. Okay. The darker the color, like you look at cattails, for example, they're always pretty much going to be dark. So just that kind of that patchwork of different grass heights. Yeah. And we recently added crop layers. So for pheasant hunters, for guys that chase Sharpies, tons, whatever, we've added crop layers. So what that is it is all of last year's data. We can't get this year's data, like what's planted now. It's just for market reasons, they don't publish it. Okay. But yeah, so obviously corn is king for pheasants, especially. Sure. So
sorry, I'm so sorry to cut you off. So real quick,
no worries.
With the crop layer, because I hadn't actually poked around that one yet. Yeah. I looked at the North Dakota, the electronically posted layer, but I haven't seen this one yet. Sure. So is that just gonna, because like, do they, again, this is more of a farming question, I guess. Are they changing crops in each field each year? Because it's kind of like a rotation base.
Yep, exactly. So even though like a lot of people ask, well, why don't I care what was in there last season? And like you said, based on like historical crop rotations, you can kind of get a good understanding of what is going to be in the field. So for example, if a field is corn last year, if it's so yellow is the color for corn, its odds are it's not going to be corn this year, just because corn is really rough on the soil, and most farmers plant it in like a 2 to 4 year rotation, just because it's hard on the soil. Okay. Just pulls a lot of nutrients from it. So you'll rarely see corn planted twice in the same field year after year. So I look at a piece of land and it says, all right, this one is all surrounded by brown, which is soybeans. There's a pretty good chance that this year one of those is going to be corn. Okay. Or vice versa. If one's surrounded by yellow, by corn, it's probably going to be soybeans, which isn't bad, but corn is number one for me when I'm looking. Sure. And it just depends on timing of the year too. Like maybe early in the year, this one's looks like it's going to be, there's a lot of wheat around. It's going to be a wheat field. Well, if I'm hunting early, odds are, like if I'm hunting opening day, odds are that corn's probably going to still be up. So there's going to be a lot of birds in that corn. So if I'm going to hunt it, I might hunt it last light, catching them back to roost, or I'm just going to go and hunt that area surrounded by wheat, just because I know, come August, early September, it's already going to be out. So
sure. Okay. So it's just giving you it's giving you data to kind of form a plan, form an idea for what you're stepping into, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the one thing, just over, last year and a half, I've been working and just digging into the maps even more. It's really compiling all of that information together. And then like, hopefully through like podcasts like this or articles, you can kind of, I'm trying to put it together.
Yeah.
So it's compiling all of this data together to make an action plan.
Well, there's still work required on our part. It's not just, we look at a map and okay, that tells us everything. Like there's still going to be some work and requirements on our side to, like you're saying, put together, okay, I heard this, I read this, I see this. Now you put your own game plan together, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, So after I find a property that's like, it's got the mosaic cover, it's got good crops surrounding by it. I always implore people to use waypoints. Maybe everyone else has a way better memory than I do, but my memory is awful.
Yeah.
And so I have a color coding system I'll use. If I'm e-scouting, I'll find a piece of property and I will put a waypoint, and not only put a waypoint down, I will, we have different icons. So, different icons for different species, different things. So if I'm pheasant hunting, I'll say, all right, here's a pheasant icon on this waypoint, and I'm going to color it yellow. And you can pick whatever color you want. This is just what I do.
I was actually curious about your system. So this is good.
Yeah. So yellow means I've e-scouted it. It looks good on the map. I've never been there, but it's something I want to check out. And if I find an area where it's like no brainer, like, oh my gosh, the spot is going to be dynamite, I'll color it pink. And so once I get out to the spot and either I confirm that whether it's I see birds out there, I run into a bunch of birds, or I go out there and I, find birds hunting, I'll change it to blue. And in the note section, I'll put, I saw about 40 birds out of this area, or I saw 5 birds out of this area, and I'll put a date in there too. So I kind of know when I've been there, and I'll change those yellow waypoints to blue waypoints. And my map looks like it's got like some sort of chicken pox disease because it's just, and I'll get bored at the computer at night or whatever. Like, let's go to South Dakota and try to find some public land roosters. And there'll be like a random area that's got like 70 waypoints on it. It's like, looks like I went a little buck wild that night.
So blue means you've basically seen it in person, right?
Yep. Okay. I found birds there.
Okay.
Yellow e-scout. And then if I go there and I just bomb, there's no birds there, I'll actually leave the waypoint on there, but I'll turn it to black. So black is a no-go. Okay.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Not good. And it just, if it's like, there's never going to be birds here in the next 5 years. It's not if there might be birds here. This black means like, do not do
this.
Step foot on this piece of property again.
It's just dirt.
Yep, exactly. So that's kind of my system, and it helps me keep things organized. And I see other people's maps and a lot of red X's, but I think it's super important and valuable to just do a good job of documenting, so you can go look back and 3 years and say, okay, like otherwise, if I see a bunch of red X's,
it all looks great.
Like, was it this spot I hunted, or did I e-scout this spot, or it just gets confusing. So it takes a little bit more time, but I think in the long run, especially, Onyx is still pretty new. So what is your map going to look like in
Yeah.
in 10 years or 5 years. So
Yeah. Yeah. Think about long term. One of the,
yeah.
I think the biggest thing I've struggled with is just kind of learning, like you were saying, like, oh, corn looks like this, cattails look like this. I've just had trouble like understanding, like, what do all these pieces look like? One of
Hmm.
the things that I started doing, I think it was last year. Yeah, it was last year, is when I'd be driving out in the country, wherever I am, and I see a piece of ground, I see corn, a cornfield. I pull up
Hmm.
Onyx to see what it looks like in person and what it looks like on Onyx. And then it teaches me,
Yep.
oh, like, okay, that's what corn looks like on Onyx. Oh, that's in
Yeah.
a wheat field. And so that's been kind of
Really
nice.
smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just visually, I'm just a very visual person. And it just helped me learn, like, okay, that's, cut wheat field, that's cattails and all those kinds of things. And still learning different areas and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's at least help me get a little bit of put some eyes on it at least.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's great. Like it just really helps you pinpoint what is what. One thing I tell people to do, and it's what I did when I went out to or Central Montana and bombed, is um, what I did is I would actually go. So I'd go to Onyx. I would find an area that looked similar to what I thought was good cover along like a more of a major road. Then I would actually flip over to Google Earth. So not
Mm-hmm.
Google Maps, but like the Google, it's a free program you
Yeah.
can download on your computer. And if you ever see the Google cars driving around,
Yeah.
with all
Yeah.
the cameras on top. So you go to Google Earth, there's a little orange guy in the top right corner. You can click him and drag him and set him on a road. And you
Mm.
can see, actual photos along
Oh,
that whole
nice.
roadway. So it's like, okay, oh, this is thick sagebrush. Okay, now I know what it looks like on the map and I can see it not in person, but as close to person as you can pretty much get. And so it's like, oh, I wonder what those trees are.
Yeah.
They look like Russian olives. Boom, I can go find, something along a roadway and be like, yep, this is what it looks like from an aerial perspective, and this is what it
Yeah.
looks
That's
like on the
really good.
ground. So
That's really
yeah,
good.
so that's been helpful.
Definitely. How many pins do you estimate that you have to put down?
Oh, so
Estimate.
I have multiple accounts now, but on my main account, which I've had to clean out, I think it's now up to like 2,500, 2,600.
Oh, okay. Sounds many
So,
as many as I thought.
yeah. The other accounts, I mean, I'm probably over 7 total from
Okay.
different accounts, just because once you get so many waypoints, believe it or not, so many waypoints, tracks, everything, it actually slows it down. So
Yeah, I actually noticed that a couple months ago. Actually, I went through and cleaned up some spot. I was doing a lot of Colorado turkey scouting, e-scouting,
oh
and I had so many pins put down of areas I wanted to check out and all that. And I started noticing it was just like running a little slower. I was like, I wonder if it's because of all the all these spins. I probably deleted like 200 or so.
yeah, so I went, a number of us obviously at Onyx we're power users. We use it all the time for everything. And so, we were like, all right, this needs to change. So now I think with the next update, it's lightning fast now.
Oh,
So
nice. That's
even
awesome.
even with so many waypoints. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
How so I'm kind of curious. So when you guys add a new layer, a new feature, something like that. So let's take the North Dakota electronically posted layer.
Hmm.
What's that process like to get that done? Because that just, to me, it seems like a huge just task to get that data and kind of figure that out. What's that process like for you guys?
Yeah. So I mean, by no means am I a GIS specialist. I just can poke my way around GIS, but essentially, we find some data that is, would be valuable, and you go contact the state organization like this, in this instance, it's Game and Fish, and they have it all. They have all that information they've compiled in their GIS database, and then our engineers go and can put it into the app. And I don't know how it's done
Just
exactly.
magic.
Yeah, exactly. I tell them to do it. Somebody says go do this, and then they go do it. They're great. But we've got a huge team of really talented people, and they're great. They're super fast. So it's really just what what can bring value to our customers. Like out in North Dakota, like you said. Now with the rule change, it's like, Oh, that's huge because a property might not be posted physically anymore.
Mm.
Back in the day, for I guess for people that aren't familiar with North Dakota's land access laws, is in the past, if it's not posted, you could legally hunt it. So now it might not be posted, but it could be electronically posted, and you wouldn't know just by looking for a sign on a corner post or every X amount of feet. So, like that's something that the more it's out there, the more people realize it. Cause I'm afraid, obviously you got to pull the cord at some point and it's going to be awesome, but I'm sure there's going to be a number of warnings written this year, just saying, I'm sure the game wardens are going to be explaining, we've got this new system,
new process. So,
yeah.
It'll be a learning curve for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Well, I grabbed a couple questions from the old Instagram on a couple Onyx things.
Very nice.
I thought we'd dive into a couple of these and again, just answer how you can, and we'll kind of go from there. But someone asked, this person wrote, I would ask if we could get a middle ground package of 3 to 5 states. Is that anything you know about on the horizon, or or you guys just have the one state and then the 50 states, right?
Yep. One state and the 50 states. And I don't, as of right now, we have no plans to do a middle ground. Really we've added, our elite program, elite membership. If you haven't looked at that recently, we've added a number of different things, outside of the app. If you do any big game hunting, we've added, you can go and access, it's called Top Rut or Hunt and Fool, which can get you draw odds if you're applying for any big game stuff. We offer that for free. I've got a number of other things in the pipeline that are, tremendously valuable to hunters. And here, I can't spill the beans yet, but we've got some new feature for bird hunters that it's going to change the game for bird hunting. And so that'll be offered in for our elite customers. So, what I tell people, it's like, it's $100. It's, it's a fair amount of money, but you just spent $200 in dog food this month. You just bought a new alpha. You bought, a case of Boss shot shells. So it's like at the end of the day, I think Onyx for $100, if you hunt out of state, is going to bring you significantly more value. Than a lot of these other things. Now, the caveat to that is, let's just say I'm going to hunt Wisconsin this weekend. I really don't want to get an elite membership for 1 day or 2 days. Call up our customer service department. We've got unreal customer service reps, and a lot of the times they'll be able to help you out. So
awesome.
You'll be talking to people right in Montana, or at least in the US for sure, and they're super knowledgeable, and they'll help you out.
That's really cool. Love that.
Yeah.
This is kind of a funny one. Does Onyx steal my pin locations?
Yeah. So no, I don't steal them. So that's a question that we get a lot, and it's
really.
All the time, like people, and they always half jokingly, but obviously there's some hint of truth in there. So I mean, it's a big deal, right? Like I don't want other people at Onyx seeing my pins, much less, So no, that's, all of our waypoint database is under lock and key, and it's all encrypted. So like we can't access your data.
I'm surprised that's been asked a lot. I mean, I read this person wrote to me. I kind of laughed, like, who would ask that?
Yeah, no, you'd be surprised. Like, and again, it's always half joking, but you can tell they're kind of serious. And, we've heard that's why some people don't put waypoints down, because they're like, oh, those guys at Onyx are seen on my waypoint. So, and that's like just the truth. But
that's hilarious.
No, it's we're customer first, and like I say, I don't want other people seeing my waypoints, and that's the same way we operate.
Yeah, I get it. One more here. I guess I don't really understand this. Maybe you will. Can they add the ability to get the compass bearing to a selected point or draw line?
Yep. Yep. So that is something that's in the works for sure. So
Okay.
yep, just so if you're more comfortable operating on bearings, you'll be able to do that in compass mode here shortly.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Someone else asked, how do I use it? Listen to the podcast.
Listen to the podcast.
It'll give you some good direction at least.
Yeah, there's a number. If you just Google how to use Onyx on YouTube, there's a ton of great tutorials on how to add layers and how to use a tracker tool, the line distance. There is a lot of stuff in it. Yeah. And I can see it would be overwhelming for sure.
Yeah. And I think you did a couple Onyx videos, right? Was it Tyler?
Yep. So
was it Hun scouting? No, Sharptail scouting, right?
Yep. So we did one last year all about, and obviously like Tyler is just a guru when it comes to Sharpies. Like he knows his stuff. So I got to go out there and I filmed with him for a couple of days. And if you go on his YouTube channel, Birds, Booze, Buds, he has got, we put it on his YouTube channel, cool. And I would highly suggest that for someone going out to hunt Sharpies. And then this year we're releasing the how to scout for hunts.
Nice. It's coming
video,
out. Cool.
So, yep, exactly.
So that's great, man.
Great resources.
Very cool. Well, I got so one more question, and then we'll end with the rapid fire section here. But talk to the new bird hunter out there, the new guy or girl who is heading into their first season. Maybe they just picked up their first bird dog. What's some advice you would give them heading into this fall?
I don't. My wife says this is terrible advice, but so my big thing is like just do it. Like go. I wrote an article, I think, for Gun Dog. Yeah, it was in like their 40th anniversary issue. The big thing is just go out and do it. Like the worst thing that can happen is you just spent a day walking through, a beautiful, gorgeous landscape. You got to watch your dog if you've got one. You probably learned a thing or two, saw a thing or two out in nature. Like that's the worst thing that could happen. I take that back. There's worse things that can obviously happen, but if you're safe, and you're on ground that you can access, hopefully you have Onyx, look at that. But just go out and try it and learn new things because, you can't, otherwise it's hard to make your own experiences. And nowadays with YouTube, there's so many, you Google anything, how to scout for sharptails, how to hunt for sharptails. There's guys like Saban Adams with the bird tails. There's Eric Forrester, bunch of public land people that put out a ton of content. So I watch a lot of that and learn from them. It's like being alongside, they're talking you through it. You can see the cover that birds are coming out of. So do your research, just watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, and then go out and do it. Just try it. And you don't have to go with someone. I ran into a guy in South Dakota the other year who was driving a Honda Civic, and he didn't have a dog. And he just said, hey, I'm new to hunting. I've never done this before. I just wanted to come out and pheasant hunt. And he was on a piece of public land, and it was a good piece of public land. And I was just so blown away. And I was like, yeah, come and hunt with us for, the next 2 days. And I was just blown away. Like, that's what, don't be afraid. Just be confident. That's one of the biggest things I could say.
That's really good, man. I like that a lot. Sometimes you just have to go, like you said, again, jokingly aside, worst things can happen, but the worst thing that can really happen is you spend a day with your dog out in a beautiful field, watch a beautiful sunset, sunrise, and maybe get some Taco Bell on the way home, and it's a good day.
Right? Exactly.
Oh, whenever I can find a good Taco Bell, that's a good day. All right, brother. That's awesome. Let's we're gonna go through a rapid fire section. I always give the warning. Just give us your answer off the cuff, but if you have to explain anything, you can go into more detail. There's no hard rules. But what gun are you carrying out into the uplands, and why?
So I have carry either a 686 Beretta Silver Pigeon in a 20 gauge or a A400 Upland Beretta in 20 gauge.
Nice.
I'll shoot the 800, the semi-auto. I shoot it out west where there's a lot of times you'll get a popcorn flush, get too excited. There's lots of birds coming out. So I'll shoot that, and at the end of the day, I shoot a semi-auto really well for whatever reason. So I love that gun. And then I have a 686. I'll do a lot of the grouse stuff with, things where I would never in my wildest, wettest dreams get 4 shots off. And I'll shoot that. And for a 20 gauge, like I firmly believe, unless that's what you have, like a 20 gauges will do any work on birds, and it's going to be a lot lighter. So
Agreed. The good old 20 gauge. It can take down a pheasant. Can you attest to that, please?
I hunted one time with my 12 gauge last year, and I walked 100 yards with it, 50 yards out and then 50 yards back to the truck, and picked up my 20 gauge. So all year for sage grouse, pheasants, everything into the end of January. 20 gauge.
Smart man. You go on some of these hunting forums and it's 12 gauge can't take down a pheasant. I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah, right.
They're like, someone like, we can't take down a North Dakota pheasant. I'm like, I'm pretty sure North Dakota pheasant are the same as Nebraska pheasant or whatever pheasant.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Favorite dog breed besides the 2 you own?
Oh, that's a good one. I would have to give, I'd have to give, I think either probably a setter. It was a toss up for me really between a setter and a Brit. I love the way that setters look in the grouse woods, just like that classic, beautiful look. But then I've hunted with some just killer Brits too. So that's a tough one. I picked 2. I hope that's okay.
Well, I'll let it slide because one of them was a Brit. So
okay. Yeah, there you go.
Fair enough. Pick your favorite bird species to hunt. You can only pick one.
Huns.
Okay.
Huns, because just that explosive. It's either an explosive covey bird. I'd say quail, but I like the Huns because they're a little bit bigger. And just that beautiful look to them, that rusted head and the places they live at. It's nothing like shooting a Hun in an old farmstead.
Oh, that sounds awesome, man. I can't wait to chase those. All right. Couple more. All right. Solo hunt with you and your dogs or a group hunt with some of your buddies?
God, I'm breaking the system here, but I love hunting. I love hunting by myself. But when I come back to camp, I love having a group of people. So yeah, again, ideal situation, like 2 or 3 people.
I'll let it slide.
Yeah.
Brick, you're just going off the rails here, man.
I know.
All
These
right.
black and white questions.
Yeah. It's kind of fun to put people on the hot seat. So, all right,
exactly.
two Onyx questions, and then my favorite question at the very end. Favorite, you only pick one. I'm going to hold you to this. Favorite Onyx feature.
Ooh.
Your favorite Onyx feature.
My favorite is I would have to say the walk-in layers. I love walk-in layers because, there's a ton of good public land, but at the end of the day, there is a lot of the times more of a mix of cropland in there, and where you find crops, you find a lot of birds.
Okay. Last Onyx question. If you could only pick one state to have Onyx in, which would it be?
Ooh. Jeez. Well, I'd have to say North Dakota now with the electronic posting, because otherwise it's like, gosh, I have to go on the website and figure it out. So that it's seriously, it's a game changer because you need it now. Absolutely,
you do. You really do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. It's kind of random. Do you just personal opinion? Do you feel more states are going to move to something like that? Where Or do you think they don't have a need?
I hope so. I mean, it would be great. Just, like I said, North Dakota is kind of unique with their land access laws. I think it's like North Dakota and Maine or something like that. Might be one other state in there as well, but it would be great. And actually, I take that back. I could see it being a thing, especially with a lot of these landowners owning thousands of acres, hundreds of thousands of acres, whatever. It takes a lot of work to put posted signs up every X amount of feet around this piece of ground. So, would I like to see it? Yeah, for sure. It'd be great. But like I said, North Dakota's kind of
because like you said, they were probably the only one that if it wasn't physically posted, you could hunt it, that kind of thing. So.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, cool. Last question: beverage of choice after a hunt.
Oh, I'm gonna have to give the nod to the old Busch latte.
All right, little Busch. All right.
Yep.
You might be the first. I'd have to go back and check. I think you're the first one to say Busch. I've been on a streak the last couple podcasts. Guys are saying water, which is, really? That's good, smart, but
not me. I'll go for a Busch every time.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, this has been a blast, man. Thank you so much for jumping on here. I know we're getting late here, and I want to respect your time. I got kids inside that are banging down the garage door. So,
well, I really appreciate you having on me, and honored that you thought of me. So I had a great time, and hope to do it again soon.
Yeah,
and maybe catch each other in the field here this fall.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your wisdom on Onyx and all that good stuff, and just getting to know your story. It was a lot of fun.
Great time. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ben. Take care. Well, that is a wrap of episode 21 with Ben Brettingin. Ben, thank you, brother. That was awesome. Sharing and dumping your OnX wisdom with us. I have started, since we last talked, I have started kind of cleaning up and organizing my OnX dashboard, database, whatever you call it. Just the way it's organized. So thanks for the encouragement. It'll help my OCD a little bit more. Anyways, guys, use promo code TUR20 for 20% off your OnX Hunt subscription. Guys, you got to have OnX. It's a game changer in upland hunting for sure. Guys, this has been fun. Thanks for tuning in. And this is a little bit longer of an episode. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you're having a fun and safe start to your 2021-2022 season. Hey, if you are not hunting with a Brittany, it is okay. Any bird dog is better than no bird dog. Go put some miles on your boots and have fun.